In 1623, in the frozen mountains of northern Japan, a young samurai named Koji sat in meditation. It was the dead of winter. Snow piled 3 feet high outside the monastery. Inside, no fire, no heating, just wooden walls and bitter cold that turned breath to fog. He'd been sitting for 4 hours. His legs had gone numb 2 hours ago. His back screamed. His mind begged him to stop. Just move. Just quit. No one would know. But he didn't move, because his master had given him one instruction: sit until dawn. Not until you're uncomfortable, not until it's hard, until dawn. And here's what nobody tells you. This wasn't about building physical toughness. It was about something deeper, something that every samurai had to master or die trying. The ability to keep going when every fiber of your being wants to quit. Right now, you're fighting the same battle Koji fought 400 years ago. You start things: the gym membership, the business idea, the creative project, the relationship work, and then you stop. Not because you're weak, not because you lack discipline, but because you never learned what the samurai knew: how to train through pain, not around it, through it. The question is, are you ready to learn? Chapter 1. The Quitting. Let me guess your pattern. January, you're on fire. This is the year everything changes. New routine, new habits, new you. You wake up early. You do the hard thing. You feel invincible. February, still going. A few missed days, but you get back on track. You've got this. March, things get harder. The initial excitement fades. The work remains. You tell yourself you'll get back to it next week. April, you've quit again. And now you're swimming in that familiar shame. What's wrong with me? Why can't I stick to anything? Everyone else can do this. Why can't I? I know this pattern because everyone knows this pattern. We all have the graveyard of abandoned commitments, the guitar gathering dust, the journal with 12 entries, the half-finished online course, the diet that lasted 16 days. But here's what's actually happening, and this is critical to understand. You're not failing because you lack willpower. You're failing because you were never taught how to face discomfort. Modern life optimized it away. Uncomfortable? Adjust the thermostat. Bored? Check your phone. Tired? Hit snooze. Hungry? Order delivery. Every discomfort has an immediate escape hatch. You've been training your entire life to avoid pain, not move through it. The samurai trained the opposite way. Chapter 2. The Principle. Koji's master, an old warrior named Takeda, understood something about human nature. Commitment isn't an emotion. It's not motivation. It's not inspiration. It's the ability to continue when all of those things are gone. He called it Kannen, enduring mind. The capacity to sit with discomfort without running, reacting, or rationalizing your way out. Most people think samurai were fearless. They weren't. They felt fear. They felt pain. They felt the desire to quit. The difference? They had been systematically trained to sit with those feelings and act anyway. Let me show you how. Takeda's dojo had a training method called Shugyo, austere training, not normal practice. Extreme practice designed specifically to break you, to find your quitting point, then push past it. Here's what it looked like. Winter training. Misogi. Students would sit under a freezing waterfall for 30 minutes before dawn, not meditating peacefully, fighting every second not to run, every cell screaming to escape, but staying, because the master said stay. Summer training, endless kata, practicing the same sword form 1,000 times in a row under the midday Sunday. Hour 5, your arms feel like lead. Hour 7, your mind fractures. You want to cry. You want to quit. You keep going. Hunger training, 7-day fasts, while maintaining full training schedule. No food, full exertion. The body cannibalizes itself. The mind hallucinates. You continue. This sounds insane to modern ears. Borderline abusive. Why would anyone do this? Because Takeda knew the enemy isn't the other swordsman. The enemy is the voice in your head that says stop, and that voice will kill you faster than any blade. Here's what was actually happening in those extreme conditions. When Koji sat in that frozen room for hours, His brain was screaming, the amygdala firing, stress hormones flooding, fight or flight activated. Quit, move, do something, anything. But he didn't. And something remarkable happened. His brain adapted. The prefrontal cortex, the part that controls impulse and maintains long-term goals, got stronger. Literally, measurably stronger. Modern neuroscience calls this building distress tolerance. The samurai called it forging the spirit. Different words, same process. Every time you face discomfort and don't run, you're increasing your capacity to face discomfort. Every time you run, you're training yourself to run. Your modern life has been training you to run for decades. That's why you can't stick to anything. Not because you're broken, because you're trained wrong. Chapter 3. The Modern Disease. Let me tell you about Yuki. He came to Takeda's dojo in 1624. Son of a wealthy merchant, soft hands, soft mind, used to servants, comfort, ease. First day, Takeda handed him a wooden sword, said nothing, walked away. Yuki stood confused. Wasn't the master going to teach him? Explain the techniques? Provide guidance? After an hour, Takeda returned. Why are you standing there? I'm waiting for instruction, master. The instruction is in your hand. Swing the sword. But how many times? What's the correct form? When do I stop? Takeda looked at him with something between pity and disappointment. You want me to tell you when it's enough. You want permission to stop. This is why you'll fail. Yuki didn't understand, but he started swinging. 100 swings. Arms burning. 200 swings. Form falling apart. 300 swings. Begging for permission to stop. Takeda sat on the porch, drinking tea, watching, saying nothing. At 500 swings, Yuki collapsed. I can't continue, master. Then you're finished. You may leave. Yuki, pride wounded, stood up, swung 100 more, collapsed again. Master, please, how many is enough? Takeda finally spoke. Enough is when you stop asking me when enough is. Enough is when you decide to continue beyond what you think you can endure. That number is different for every person, every day. I cannot give it to you. You must find it yourself. This is your problem. You're Yuki. Waiting for someone to tell you it's okay to stop. Waiting for the difficulty to ease. Waiting for it to feel comfortable before you continue. It won't. Ever. That's the point. Chapter 4. The Training Method. Koji learned to sit in the cold. But that was just the beginning. Takeda's real genius was understanding that enduring mind had to be trained systematically, like any other skill. Here's the method. And you can use this today. Stage 1. Small discomforts. Takeda started students with minor discomfort. Sit in Seiza, formal kneeling position, for 30 minutes. Not extreme, just uncomfortable. Legs fall asleep, back aches, mind wanders. The instruction? When you want to move, don't. When you want to adjust, don't. When you want to quit, don't. Just sit, breathe, observe the discomfort without obeying it. This is training the most important muscle you have, the pause between impulse and action. Modern application? Pick something small. Hold a plank for 2 minutes. Take a cold shower. Skip dessert. Not because these things matter, because the practice of not obeying your comfort-seeking impulse matters. Stage 2. Duration. Once students could sit with small discomfort, Takeda increased duration. 1 hour, 2 hours, 4 hours. Same position, same instruction. Don't move. The suffering compounds. Hour 1, uncomfortable. Hour 2, painful. Hour 3, you're negotiating with yourself. Just this once. I've done enough. This is stupid. That negotiating voice, that's the enemy. And every time you listen to it, you're strengthening it. Every time you ignore it, you're weakening it. Modern application? Take your commitment and extend it past your quitting point. If you usually run 20 minutes, run 30. If you usually write 500 words, write 1,000. Not every day, but regularly. Train your system to go past the I'm done signal. Stage 3. Intensity. The waterfall training. The 1,000 sword swings. The fasting. These weren't daily practices. They were periodic intensity spikes designed to completely overwhelm your coping mechanisms. To find the absolute edge of what you think you can endure, then push past it. Because here's what Takeda understood. If you've endured sitting under a freezing waterfall for 30 minutes, sitting in discomfort during a difficult conversation becomes trivial. If you've practiced a sword form 1,000 times without stopping, finishing a hard work project seems manageable. You're recalibrating what difficult means. Modern application? Once a month, do something that scares you, something that feels too hard, a difficult workout, a 24-hour fast, an ice bath, a challenging conversation, something that makes your usual challenges seem small by comparison. The mental game. But physical discomfort was just the tool. The real training was mental. Takeda would sit with his students during their hardest moments and ask one question. What is the thought that wants you to stop? Students would answer, it hurts. I'm tired. This is pointless. I've done enough. Takeda would nod. Good. Now continue anyway. He was teaching them the most powerful lesson. Thoughts are just thoughts. They're not commands. The thought, I should quit, doesn't mean you should quit. It just means your brain generated that thought. You can acknowledge it and do something different. This is the secret modern psychology took 400 years to rediscover. Cognitive diffusion. The ability to observe your thoughts without being controlled by them. The samurai were doing exposure therapy, building distress tolerance, practicing mindfulness, all without those words. They just called it training. Chapter 5. The Transformation. Koji became a master swordsman, not because of technique, because of Kannen. The ability to face any opponent, any difficulty, any discomfort, and not flinch. One story illustrates this perfectly. A rival samurai challenged Koji to a duel. This samurai was famous, faster, stronger, more skilled technically. Everyone knew Koji would lose. They faced each other at dawn. The rival attacked immediately. A flurry of strikes. Expert technique. Overwhelming force. Koji defended. Barely. Minutes passed. The rival was winning. Koji was being pushed back, outmatched. Then something shifted. The rival started to tire. His breath became labored. His strikes lost precision. He was used to quick victories. When the fight extended, his conditioning failed. Koji, he'd sat under waterfalls. He'd swung swords for hours. He'd trained his entire life to continue when everything hurt. He was just getting started. 30 minutes into the duel, the rival collapsed from exhaustion. Koji stood over him, barely winded, and said something that became famous in samurai circles. You mastered the sword. I mastered continuation. Continuation always wins. This is your path. Not becoming a samurai. Becoming someone who can stick to things. Not through motivation. Not through inspiration. Through trained capacity to continue when it's hard. Here's what changes when you develop Kannen. Your business doesn't collapse at the first setback because you've trained to sit with failure without quitting. Your relationships don't end at the first conflict because you've trained to stay present in discomfort. Your health goals don't die in February because you've trained to continue when the excitement fades. Your creative projects don't languish half-finished because you've trained to work through resistance. The work doesn't get easier. You get stronger. Chapter 6. The Practice. Takeda had one final teaching for his students before they left the dojo. He'd take them to the mountain path, point to the summit. Say this: the path is 1,000 steps. You will want to quit at step 100. That wanting is not special. It's not a sign. It's just a feeling. Take step 101. You will want to quit at step 500. Take step 501. You will want to quit at step 999. Take step 1000. The mountain doesn't care about your feelings. Your feet still work. Keep walking. This is your practice. Not dramatic, not complicated, just continuing when you want to stop. Pick one commitment. Just one. Make it small enough that you can actually do it daily. 10 push-ups, 10 minutes of reading, 10 minutes of your project. Small enough that you have no excuse. Then do it every day for 30 days. And here's the key. On day 15, when you don't feel like it, when you're tired, when it seems pointless, that's not the day you quit. That's the day you're actually training. That's your waterfall. That's your 1,000 sword swings. That's your frozen meditation hall. That's the day that counts. Every easy day, you're just maintaining. Every hard day where you continue anyway, you're building Kannen. You're becoming someone different, someone who can stick to things. Not because you're more motivated, because you're more trained. Koji eventually became a teacher. Students would come asking the same question you're asking now. Master, how do I build discipline? How do I stick to things? And he'd smile. Take them to the coldest room in the monastery. Have them sit. And when they inevitably asked, how long should I sit? He'd give them Takeda's answer. Until you stop asking me when you can stop. Because that's when you know. You're not waiting for permission to quit. You're not waiting for it to feel comfortable. You're not negotiating with yourself. You're just continuing. Because that's what you do now. That's who you are. The path of commitment isn't about motivation. It's about Kannen, enduring mind, the trained capacity to sit with discomfort and act anyway. Modern life taught you to run from pain. The samurai teach you to sit with it, to breathe through it, to continue anyway. Not because pain is good, because the person who can endure pain can do anything, build anything, become anything. You can't stick to things because you were never taught how. Now you know. The question is, will you train? If you're ready to build Kannen, to train like the warriors who mastered continuation, join us. Subscribe. Train through the discomfort. Transform through persistence. Walk the path the samurai walked. See you in the next lesson, warrior.